Alrighty, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. Let's go ahead and get started. I did get, it's a little late right now, so I do want to go back to review Friday here, and then we can look at Monday very quickly. I wasn't here to do the broadcast yesterday morning, so I did broadcast the charts so you could see the live action, but I did not do a pre-market. I just didn't have an opportunity to do that yesterday. So we're going to go back to Friday just to do a quick review, and then we'll talk about what is going on for this morning. So let me open up our little plans of action here for Friday. So we did have all of our stuff summarized here at the top on Friday. We talked about the healthy correction from Thursday going into Friday. Does not mean the bulls are done, especially with daily, weekly, and potential monthly bullish signals. Down from October lows. And then we had some plans of action. We said this morning we want to see the bulls get above 50% of the previous day and the 61.8 retrace at 44.02. For more evidence the bulls are still in power. If that happens, then we're going to target into different areas. The ultimate bullish targets being up a little further. If the bears hold the market down and push price below the previous daily low, then we're targeting the pocket near 43, and that's basically what we had. So when we came into the open, we were right around 50% of the previous day. In fact, just before the open, a couple moments before there, we bounced to the tick right off of that area. And then here is that 61.8 retrace. So if we go back to what I said here, we want to see it get above 50% of the previous day and the 61.8 retrace at 44.02. Well, here's the 61.8 retrace at 44.02. Interestingly enough, beautiful parry off of it nearly to the tick there for this pullback right to the 200. And then once it got above there, it did try to hold. And then you can see it kind of held and you almost nearly to the tick. On all these little pullbacks, tried to hold. And then that was it. We got down below it, parried off of the 50% of the previous day, PD, came up and then held. And then that was it. So once the bulls could not hold above 50% of the previous day and get through and hold above the 61.8 retrace here, that was our first clue when we started to reject, and we got a slightly lower high here a couple minutes after that first high, and then we started to fail down and break below VWAP here and get below 50% of the previous day. Should have been pretty obvious what you wanted to do. And of course, look at that. It comes up and kisses the back end of 50% of the previous day, basically to the tick. And then from there, we start to sell off and got a second opportunity. And from there, lots of beautiful opportunities to get aggressive on the short side of things. If you weren't aggressive, you still got your opportunity to short the 200 on the way down. We did get some nice holds off the scaffolding. However, they just continued to bring it lower. And then finally, we tested into the previous daily low. And this is where it got a little bit messy because we did get the bounce, making it look like maybe this was just a peak below to bounce all the way back out. But then, of course, they had to surprise the bulls there and go ahead and rip it. And then here, when it came back after the first test, and then came back and then got down below the previous daily low again, and notice how it's holding the stuff nearly to the tick, you had a great opportunity here to short either the first or the second, or maybe even the third test of the previous daily low there to capture this little sell-off. And like I said, it just kind of got a little tricky here because it started to kind of go sideways, and then the end of the day, it was just a total chop fest. Interestingly enough, the entire chop fest was basically the top end of the range was our scaffolding. The lower end of our range was a swing level we're watching. And then basically 50% of it was the other level. So just this whole little chop session at the end of the day, we basically highlighted the high and the low of that move, except for the two major extremes. So kind of interesting to note, but a total mess there, not anything I would want to be trading inside of. And then that brought us to the end of the week. So the market closed here, down around that swing that we were watching. Again, this swing, if you were just trading that, gave you actually some really great longs throughout this overnight, throughout the end of the day there on the end of the week. Even gave you a nice short off the back end when it fell below it. And then again, right at the end of the day, we came back in and basically held it. So the most notable thing about Friday is that once we broke below 50% of the previous day and the bulls could not get through the 61.8, that was the very thing I said we needed to see happen here for any faith in the bulls. And then we broke down below 50% of the previous day and VWAP. You want it to be a bear. That was the idea. All right. So you got beautiful, nearly zero risk opportunities to get short on the bearish side of things. But great opportunities once the bulls did not hold above those two critical levels. That brings us into Sunday's Globex session. In Sunday's Globex session here, you can see the market tried to hold below 50% of the previous day, again holding it nearly to the tick there. Very sideways session on Sunday of this week. If you were trying to trade the back end and the top end of the VWAP, there actually were some good rotations, but you probably could have also been chopped throughout this. And then that brought us into the pre-market going into Monday. So, actually brought us the pre-market into Monday. Notice what happened here. We held our scaffolding. So on Monday morning, guys, if you were here trading and you were seeing the market break out through 50% of the previous day, right here, and getting up, pushing through the scaffolding, you had a great opportunity to buy the top end of the scaffolding to see if maybe you would get that push higher. And sure enough, it held the scaffolding again with 2 ticks of risk and got a really nice 10-point, 12-point bounce out of it. So beautiful. And then this is the open on Monday. So Monday morning, market open right here with this vertical line. Great opportunity here to buy the scaffolding, to be a little bit, maybe be a strong bull out of the open there. Could have bought the FMA to the tick on 2 occasions here with a nice pop. All right, and then for the rest of the day yesterday was, if I recall correctly here, was a pretty messy market once we got outside of this first push. So we had 2 retracements above that I did have on the screen for you guys if you were watching the charts yesterday. Again, I didn't do a broadcast, but I did run the charts all day. So they just chopped right through them, really nothing too notable at those 2 retracement areas. And then it came up to the high of the day before, and this is where it started to kind of peter out. Interestingly enough, once it pulled back from the high of the day before yesterday, held the scaffolding again for an attempt to bounce on 2 occasions here. Now, it wasn't to the tick. It was like 1 point below, still extremely limited risk if you tried to buy it. And there was the second attempt. So we had a breakout out of the open yesterday. Looked like the bulls were going to be in power, except it got to the high of the day before, and then all that steam kind of went away. And then they tried to hold, the bulls tried to hold scaffolding. There was the second attempt to try to break out through the high of the day, and there's the failure. These are the type of things I talked about as a price pattern that I love to trade. When I see a market come up, either bullish or the bearish side of things, get a really strong push to break out of a level, and then get a healthy pullback, and then bounce back up, and then it fails just a couple points, a couple ticks in front of the major high of the day. That's like my clue right there. And especially when you get this really violent rejection and it breaks this previous strong area of support, that to me is like a red flag that this is it for the bulls. They've kind of lost out. They tried to push, they pulled back, they tried to hold, they gave it a second attempt, and then got this stronger pullback. So I would have been bearish at that point. Doesn't mean I would have been right or wrong, but that's the type of pattern I like to trade. Once I start to see this heavy sell, to me, that's a great short opportunity once we fail in front of the high of the day to get short into some of the expected support levels. Now, check this out. If you would have shorted, taking profit off the VWAP or off our first major retracement back down would have been a great place to take profit in case you got a rotation. And sure enough, rotation right off VWAP, rotation right off our first expected support level once we pulled back from that area. And what do you know? Beautiful rotations. And again, trying to hold and get through the high of the day, just could not do it. Pulled back, holds the scaffolding again. And for the rest of the day, just tries to break out from the high of the day before and just can't do it. And that's where it brings us into this morning. So we've attempted yesterday to break out through the high of Friday and continue with the bullish push from Friday's low. If you go all the way back to Friday's low, tried to push, got to the high of Friday, couldn't get through it yesterday, and now here we are failing coming into this morning, right? So in the overnight session here, great opportunity to be a bear as the market sold off, held the back end of VWAP in the 200 here the whole way down basically. There was a great opportunity in the middle of the night there, right off VWAP, or right here probably around midnight, I think, my time, Central. And now some great opportunities to be an aggressive bear throughout the whole morning. So that brings us here to right around the open. We are at what, 10 minutes before the market's going to open here. So let's go ahead and check out what we have in store for us this morning.